Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to introduce you to our host, Ms. Kim Brown. Kim.
Thank you, Sam. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on Explore Foreign-Born and Ancestry Population Data. My name is Kim Brown, and I'm a training specialist here at the U.S. Census Bureau. I want to thank you for joining us today for its All in the Tools webinar series. This series was created by the Census Academy team here at the Census Bureau. You can review any of the previous webinars in this series by accessing census.gov/academy. We think this hands-on exercise-based workshop will be a valuable opportunity for you to learn from our experts about how to access the Census Bureau data tools and resources. If you wish to follow along, take a moment now to open an additional browser to participate in the exercise. Before I introduce today's speaker, let's go over a few important housekeeping rules. As mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded. For your convenience, it will be uploaded to our Census Academy site with all supplemental materials relating to the webinar within 30 business days. In terms of how to ask a question during the webinar, you can submit your written questions using the Q&A panel, which is at the bottom center or right side of your WebEx screen. Please take a moment to locate that now. Once you've found the QA panel, make sure you choose All Panelists from the drop-down menu. This will ensure we see your question. Don't send your question to an individual panelist. Also, we ask that you do not include any personal or business identifiable information with your questions. Definitely keep the chat panel open as we will provide key links and other resources from the presentation. Keep in mind you won't be able to respond to the chat. This is for us to send you links and other resources. In the chat box, we will be sharing throughout the webinar the link to our evaluation. We are very interested in hearing from you how we are doing. My colleagues Mac Trees, Ana Arredondo, and Misty Slater will be monitoring the Q&A panel. As time allows, we will answer your question directly through Q&A panel, and we will share your question with the presenter to respond to throughout the workshop. If we don't get to your question with a response during the webinar, we will post the Q&A responses with the webinar materials on the census.gov Academy site within 30 business days. Again, as mentioned before, near the end of the webinar, we'll put in chat the link to our evaluation so you can tell us how we did today. We hope you'll take the time to complete, as we are always looking for new ways to improve our training. As you know, we are in a virtual environment, and sometimes technical difficulties might occur. If you are having issues, try a different browser such as Chrome, or consider logging out and coming back into the session. If you are having audio issues, try selecting the computer audio or calling into the webinar via phone. Now I'd like to introduce our speakers, Kelly Karras and Victoria Brooks. Thanks for being here today. Kelly, you may begin.
Thank you, Kim, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to share statistics and trends in foreign-born and ancestry population data from the U.S. Census Bureau. In addition, my colleague, Victoria Brooks, will show you tools and resources that you need to access the data on your own in an online demonstration. Again, I'm Kelly Karras, and I'm one of your instructors for today's webinar. I've been with the Census Bureau for 16 years, and I've been working with the data since 2009. As I mentioned, I'm joined by my colleague, Victoria Brooks, your second presenter for today's webinar. Victoria's worked in several different positions at the Census Bureau, including work on the American Community Survey, as well as in the most recent decennial census as a partnership specialist. She's also a proud veteran of the U.S. Air Force. Both Victoria and I are data dissemination specialists in the Data Dissemination and Training Branch at the U.S. Census Bureau, and we're joined by a network of colleagues throughout the nation. And basically, it's our job to be data educators, providing presentation, training, and workshop sessions free of charge. And we'll share contact information with you at the end if you're interested in learning more. Here's an outline for today's session. I'll begin with an overview of the U.S. Census Bureau. I'll define key terms, and then I'll move into highlighting some trends, both recent and historical, in foreign-born and ancestry population data. Next, I'll share some key resources for further research and independent learning. In the second part of today's session, Victoria Brooks will provide you with an online demonstration on accessing the foreign-born and ancestry data on the Census Bureau's website. Please note that today's session will not cover the ancestry data released today from the 2020 Census Detailed Demographic and Housing Characteristics File A, or DHCA. However, I'll provide a slide at the end of the presentation with information and links if you'd like to learn more. As the federal government's largest statistical agency and the nation's data collector, the U.S. Census Bureau conducts not one, but 3 censuses: the decennial census, which is the Census Bureau's most well-known duty, to count the nation's population once a decade, the economic census, which serves as a benchmark for changes in the U.S. economy and businesses by sector over time, and the census of governments, which provides data on local and state government finances, spending, and employment. In addition to the 3 censuses, the U.S. Census Bureau conducts over 130 current surveys and programs each year, including the American Community Survey, which is part of the decennial census program and the largest household survey in the U.S. This survey provides annual data updates on a variety of topic areas for geographic areas large and small. You'll see quite a bit of data today from the American Community Survey in my portion, the presentation portion of the session, as well as in the online demonstration. You'll also see data from another Census Bureau survey, the Current Population Survey. The Census Bureau also produces annual population estimates and less frequent population projections, and in addition has a variety of geographic programs to make sure geographic boundaries are up to date so everyone is counted and tabulated in the correct place. It's our mission to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people and economy, because census data is a key resource used by individuals, organizations, and decision makers at all levels to better understand and meet the needs of our nation's people. With a large number of ongoing surveys, it's possible that your address or business may fall into sample for one of our surveys. If you're a survey respondent and you have questions, visit the census.gov main page for more information. And Victoria will point out the respondent resource section on our website during her online demonstration. Okay, the first topic we're going to look at today is the foreign-born population in the U.S., and we're going to take a look at some examples of foreign-born data available from the U.S. Census Bureau. Let's begin by defining foreign-born. Foreign-born refers to people who are not U.S. citizens at birth. The foreign-born population includes naturalized U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, temporary migrants, humanitarian migrants, and persons illegally present in the United States. The term nativity or nativity status simply refers to whether a person is native-born or foreign-born. The data we collect on the American Community Survey and the Current Population Survey are 2 of the main sources of U.S. Census Bureau foreign-born data. And the data that we collect on these surveys is used to provide communities with important statistics to help ensure equal opportunity, educate children, and understand change. Let's move into the data. Of the over 46 million people who are foreign-born in the U.S., 23.2 million were born in Latin America, 14.3 million in Asia, 4.7 million were born in Europe, 2.7 million were born in Africa, 828,000 were born in Northern America, and 288,000 were born in Oceania, which consists of Australia, New Zealand, and many territories within the Pacific Ocean, mostly islands. And this data comes from the American Community Survey, again, the largest household survey conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau. And this is specifically from the 2022 one-year estimates. At the bottom of the slide, you'll see this information. You'll also see a link to the table that contains this data on the Census Bureau's website. And I've provided links throughout the presentation for your benefit. You'll have this information as a resource once the materials are posted online. More specific origin data for the foreign-born population also comes from the American Community Survey. Here you see the top 10 countries of birth for the foreign-born population living in the U.S. in 2022. Mexico ranks first at over 10.6 million. Currently, the Mexican-born population comprises nearly a quarter of the foreign-born population in the U.S. This is down from 30% in 2000. India and China were the next two largest contributors to the foreign-born population. India ranks second at 2,839,618. And China ranks third, very close behind India, with about 6,600 less foreign-born. Philippines ranks fourth at 1.9 million. El Salvador ranks fifth at 1.4 million. Other top countries of origin include Vietnam, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and Korea, all of which have a foreign-born population of over 1 million living in the U.S. Okay, what about foreign-born by regional residents within the U.S.? This chart gives us some historical perspective on how the percentage of foreign-born population has changed nationally and regionally from 1850 to 2016. In 1850, the first year the United States began collecting nativity data through the census, the country had a foreign-born population of only 2.2 million, representing nearly 10% of the total population. Taking a closer look at the line graph, you'll see in the mid to late 1800s, the percentages were higher, largely driven by immigration from Europe. The percent who were foreign-born declined for the U.S. as a whole and across all regions in the decades after the 1920 census. Amidst the Great Depression, World War II, and changing immigration policies. Following the 1970 census, the foreign-born population began to rebound and has been rising steadily in recent decades, driven largely by immigration from Latin America and Asia. In 2016, the percent foreign-born nationwide was 13.5%, and the most recent data from 2022 put it at 13.9%. One thing I wanted to point out regionally is you'll see that the line in orange, which represents data for the South region, shows that foreign-born residents in the South was well below that of other regions and the national average until 1980. But by 2016, the South region had surpassed the Midwest. While foreign-born levels have risen and fallen over the past century and a half, each region and each historical period attracts a unique mix of migrants, which we'll take a look at in the next slide. This table provides a comparison of the top 5 foreign-born groups living in the U.S. region, each U.S. region in 1910 and a century later in 2010. It's interesting to see the regional variations and how they've changed over time. For example, in 1910, people born in Germany were the largest group in each region, with the exception of the Northeast, where immigrants from Russia, Italy, and Ireland were most numerous. Also in 1910, immigrants from Mexico appeared only in the South, while in 2010, Mexico made the list for all 4 regions and ranked first in 3 out of 4 of the regions, with the exception of the Northeast, where Dominican Republic ranked first, but did not make the top 5 in any other region. Perhaps most notably, with the exception of Mexican born in the South, no country listed among the top 5 groups in 1910 ranked among any of the groups in 2010. Moving from a historical perspective back to a current one, where does a foreign-born population live within the U.S. now? I created a map which illustrates the percent foreign-born by state, where California ranks first with 26.5% of its population foreign-born. New Jersey ranks second at 22.9%, while New York ranks third at 22.5%. Fourth is Florida at 21%, and to round out the top 5 is Hawaii at 18.2%. And remember, the national percentage of foreign-born is 13.9%. Again, the link to the table is at the bottom of the slide. One of the advantages of using census data, especially American Community Survey and decennial census data, is that it allows data users the option to drill down geographically to view local level data and trends. And before I show you the information for California, I want to point out that this particular data, and you'll see the source at the bottom, comes from the American Community Survey 5-year estimates, which are really our best American Community Survey source for accessing local level information, as well as data for smaller population groups. The American Community Survey also provides 1-year estimates, and these are best suited when you're looking at national level data or state level data because there's a population threshold of 65,000 with the 1-year estimates. At the end of the session, I'm going to provide you with more information and links to guidance on using data sets from the American Community Survey. And remember, data dissemination specialists like myself and my colleague Victoria are also here to assist you. All right, so which California county has the highest percentage of foreign-born residents? It's actually Santa Clara County at almost 40%. Number 2, San Mateo County at 35%. And number 3, Los Angeles County at 33.5%. I was curious in learning more about the foreign-born population in Santa Clara County, California. And so after I created this map, I created it on data.census.gov, the Census Bureau's main data dissemination tool. I simply clicked on View Profile below the estimate for Santa Clara. And the information that I received was, and I wanted to share, more than 770,000 people living in Santa Clara County are foreign-born, with over 520,000 residents, or 67% of the foreign-born, were born in Asia. Further, 55% of the county's total population and 89% of the foreign-born population speak a language other than English at home, with the highest percentage of that population speaking Asian and Pacific Islander languages. And Victoria is going to show you how to access the geographic profiles that I just mentioned in some of the data points. So you'll figure out how to do that once we get online. So far, we've mostly looked at population numbers, percents, country of birth, but the Census Bureau also releases much more characteristic or descriptive data about a population. Further, the data can be used to compare the foreign-born population to the native-born population. Families and living arrangements are one category of data collected by the Census Bureau. Here, data from the 2019 Current Population Survey show that regardless of nativity status, most children live with two parents, but children with at least one foreign-born parent were more likely to live with two parents than children with native-born parents. Consequently, children with at least one foreign-born parent were less likely than children with native-born parents to live with either their mother only or their father only. The data on this slide was featured in an America Counts article on the Census Bureau's website, and the America Counts stories feature data on a variety of topics, and the data stories often coincide with major data releases. The article also illustrated several household economic characteristics for both native-born and foreign-born parents. Children with native-born parents fared better on certain household economic characteristics than children with at least one foreign-born parent. Those with at least one foreign-born parent, for example, were more likely than children with native-born parents to live below the poverty line and have no health insurance coverage. They were also more likely to live in a rented home at just under half, compared to a third of children with native-born parents. Although some household level characteristics show that children living with at least one foreign-born parent were less economically secure, they also show that they were less likely to live in a household that received public assistance. Speaking of economic data, what's the breakdown of industry of foreign-born workers compared to native-born workers in the U.S.? The largest percentage of both foreign-born and native-born workers is in educational services, healthcare, and social assistance at 20% and 24% respectively. For the foreign-born population, 14.5% are employed in professional, scientific, and management industries, 11% in manufacturing, and 9.9% in construction. While not shown here, a higher percentage of foreign-born workers were self-employed at 8.2% compared to 5.6% of native-born workers. Data for general occupation categories within the various industries that we just saw in the previous slide can also be broken down by nativity status. The occupations with the highest percentages of both foreign-born and native-born workers is in management, business, science, and arts, while service occupation ranks second and foreign-born second for the foreign-born and third for the native-born. For our last foreign-born slide, we can take the topic of foreign-born worker a little further through this interactive infographic on census.gov, which shows earnings by specific occupation by foreign-born status. Users can select an occupation and a measure of interest up top. I selected biological scientists for the occupation and total median earnings for the measure of interest. While the number of full-time, year-round biological scientists is much higher than the native-born population at over 60,000 compared to the foreign-born at over 17,000, foreign-born median earnings for biological scientists are higher at almost 80,000 compared to the native-born biological scientist median earning of 65,860. But when we look at the median income of all foreign-born workers, regardless of occupation, it's less than that of native-born workers. Okay, next we're going to take a look at some of the ancestry data provided by the Census Bureau. We'll begin by defining ancestry. Ancestry refers to a person's self-identification of the ethnic origin, descent, roots, heritage, or place of birth of the person or the person's ancestors. Examples of selected ancestry groups include Arab, Brazilian, Canadian, and more. Some ethnic identities, such as German or Jamaican, can be traced to geographic areas outside the United States, while other ethnicities, such as Pennsylvania Dutch or Cajun, involved within the United States. People who identify with a specific ancestry could have been born abroad or in the United States. This is why the number of people identifying with a certain ancestry is usually larger than the number who were born in that country. The main sources of data for Ancestry are the American Community Survey and the 2020 Census Detailed Demographic and Housing Characteristic File A, released today, and the forthcoming Detailed Demographic and Housing Characteristics File B. This slide shows a table using 2021 American Community Survey data, and it features the ancestries totaling 2 million or more in the US, with the top 10 ancestries highlighted, not including the other groups or unclassified or not reported categories. The top 5 groups are German, English, Irish, American, and Italian, each with a population of more than 10 million. Victoria will show you how to access this and similar information during the online demo. Irish is listed as one of the most frequently reported ancestries within the US. According to a 2021 American Community Survey report, residents with Irish ancestry are present in all 3,142 counties in the US and make up more than 20% of the population in some of those counties. The previous map also allows users to have the option to drill down to view state and county level data. Here, I selected Pennsylvania, where 15.2% of the state's residents are of Irish ancestry. The county with the highest percentage of Irish ancestry in Pennsylvania is Lackawanna County, with just over a quarter of residents reporting Irish ancestry, at 25%, as you can see on the slide. Another ancestry group, which was highlighted on census.gov in an America Counts article, is the population of Ukrainian ancestry. This simple line chart illustrates how the population with Ukrainian ancestry did not grow substantially in the 1980s, but grew at a faster rate during the 1990s after the breakup of the Soviet republics. According to the 2022 American Community Survey data released earlier this month, the total population reporting Ukrainian ancestry in the US was over 1.6 million. Here we see those reporting Ukrainian ancestry as well as a foreign-born population from Ukraine. Specifically, it shows the top 5 states for each. On the first bar chart on the left, you'll see that New York has the highest number of people who reported Ukrainian ancestry at over 140,000, followed by California at 114,000 and Pennsylvania at 97,000. There were also 50,000 or more people with Ukrainian ancestry in New Jersey, Florida, Washington, and Illinois. The bar chart on the right tells us that New York also has the highest number of people born in the Ukraine at over 74,000. California ranks second at just over 54,000. Washington, Illinois, and Florida all had 20,000 or more people born in the Ukraine. This information provides us with an example of how ancestry and foreign-born population numbers and where the population resides throughout the country can vary. The last group of ancestries I wanted to highlight are the US populations of sub-Saharan African ancestry. Although these populations are still relatively small, they're rapidly growing. To give you an example of the growth, Ethiopian ancestry more than doubled from 87,000 in 2000 to an estimated 195,000 in 2012. A special population report on the characteristics of selected sub-Saharan African and Caribbean ancestry groups in the United States was released in recent years and was the first of its kind for these population groups. More recent data over the past decade show us large growth in many of the populations reporting sub-Saharan African ancestry. In the table on the slide, I highlighted the 6 reported ancestries in this area that have at least doubled from 2010 to 2021, according to American Community Survey estimates. While reported Ethiopian ancestry continued to grow at a substantial rate at 78.4%, as you'll see in the last column under where it says percentage change, Ethiopian was outpaced by other groups. The groups with the highest growth in sub-Saharan African ancestry from 2010 to 2021 were Nigerian, Senegalese, Sierra Leonean, and Guyanian. Nigerian also recorded the largest numerical growth in the region during this 11-year period, growing numerically by over 422,000. And 2022 data showed continued growth in ancestry throughout the region. During the demonstration, Victoria is going to show you how to access data for specific ancestry groups for you to better understand where different communities reside. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, ancestry data from the 2020 census was released just earlier today. And this is the first time the decennial census will provide detailed ancestry data. This data includes population counts and sex by age statistics for over 300 detailed race groups and nearly 1,200 American Indian and Alaska Native tribes and villages. Please visit the links I provided to learn more. And while this is an extremely exciting release, remember that the American Community Survey will continue to release ancestry data on an annual basis. I have a few resources I want to share before I turn the session over. These resources are all available on census.gov. The first I wanted to share is the Census Glossary. The glossary is one of my favorite resources, probably because it's the most practical. It provides official definitions to survey and census terms you'll encounter on the website. It also allows users to create a customized glossary document with census terms of their choice, and it's a pretty useful feature. And you'll see a screenshot of a glossary that I created using ancestry, foreign-born, and nativity status, some of the terms we've talked about today. Both the foreign-born and ancestry topics pages provide links to the data, visualizations, and publications, and are a really good starting point for your topical data research. American Community Survey data was featured in many of the slides today. And this survey provides data users with a lot of options in terms of data sets, population groups, and geographic areas. The resources on this slide, as well as other links within them, can really help you determine the best data set to use for your needs. Again, feel free to reach out to data dissemination staff if you have questions or need further assistance. I referred to the America Count series several times today, and it's an excellent resource for examples of storytelling using census data. And it's another great starting point for your own local research. Many of you may not know the Census Bureau also provides data, an international database, and data for countries around the world. And I wanted to include this as a resource for you because it relates to both of the topics that we talked about today. And finally, last but not least in the resources is Census Academy, the U.S. Census Bureau's online educational hub, where data users can access a variety of educational materials, including short videos called data gems, which are really bite-sized instruction on different census concepts. You can also peruse the recorded webinar section and view even webinars that were earlier in this particular series, as well as many, many more. And you can view upcoming offerings as well. You can even go ahead and request a training session or a presentation for your group right there on Census Academy. And so here we are. Now it is time for the online demonstration. And I will turn the session over to my colleague, Victoria Brooks. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Kelly. That was great. Is to demonstrate both the practical and complex data search for foreign-born and ancestry data using a few data tools. The first you may be familiar with, which is QuickFacts. QuickFacts offers a quick and easy way to find frequently requested data for populations of 5,000 or more. The next is also known as ACS. An ACS narrative profile is a short report using 5-year estimates highlighting social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates. And last, we'll be using the data.census.gov platform to access census data for America's people, households, and businesses. Throughout our demonstration, we will have a few practice exercises. You can access these exercises or these data tools by scanning the QR code that you will see on the screen. To participate in these exercises, now, if you're like me and you enjoyed Kelly's presentation, you may be wondering, well, how can I create that same map for my geography? We're going to go through and create a map just like the one that Kelly presented during her presentation, and it will be towards the end of our demonstration. So let's get started. Okay, to get to census.gov, in Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, you can just type in census.gov. It'll bring you to the landing page. And as you scroll down, you'll see this link that says Get Survey Help. The Census Bureau conducts over 100 programs each year. If your household or business has been selected for a survey, you can click this link for more information. Now we'll go down and click on Quick Facts. And this is the Quick Facts landing page. In the upper left corner, you'll see a space where you can add geographies, up to 6 geographies. I'm going to add the Hawaii. And during Kelly's presentation, Kelly showed us the states with the highest percentage of foreign-born residents. Those are the states we will be using today during our demonstration. I'm going to also add Fresno County. And we'll take a look at Miami, Florida. Let's see. We have Miami Beach. Here's Miami City, Florida. At the top, you'll see the geographies you've selected. The default, the United States is added. You can click the X to remove the United States. And when you scroll down, you'll see data such as population estimates, age and sex. I'm going to go back up and click on all topics. Click on the drop down, and you'll see a list of all the topics here. You have housing data, education data, health, business data. I'm going to go back up and click on population. And here we see veterans data and foreign-born persons percent. 5-year estimates. In the state of Hawaii, the foreign-born population is 18.2%. Miami City is 58%. In Florida, we should have Fresno County. Heading at Fresno County, we have Fresno City. Go back up. Fresno County, California. So here we have Fresno County, California, and the population is 19%. At the top right, tables, maps, charts. We're currently looking at tables. And the dashboard is a combination of both the table, the map, and the chart. If we click on chart and we select a geography, I'll select Fresno We're still showing, I'm sorry, we're still showing Fresno City. Let's try this one. All right, there's Fresno County, California. If we click on the chart, we can select Fresno County, California, and you'll get a bar graph showing you all the state of California. This is nice to have in a report or doing a presentation. If we go back up and we click on chart again, we can also change it to Miami City. If you click on city, you'll have all the cities in Florida. And if you click on Hawaii, you'll get all the states in the United States. Currently, we're looking at population estimates. We can go up and click on select fact and scroll down. And if we want to take a look at foreign-born data, we have the foreign-born percentage here by county in the state of Florida. And if we were interested, we could click on facts one more time, and under families, and we can take a look at languages spoken at home. And in the upper right corner, you can click on more to download and save this data. Now we're going to go ahead and head over to the ACS narrative profile. And this is the narrative profile homepage. ACS narrative data narrative profile is a 5-year estimates. And you'll see that the very first year that's highlighted or indicated by the orange bar is 2021. I'm going to take a look at, we'll take a look at Florida. We select state and click on the drop down and select Florida. Then click Get Narrative Profile. It's collecting the data in real time. And while it's collecting the data, I want to point out, I selected Florida, but if I wanted to change the geography, I can click this button that says Change Geography. When I scroll down, I'll see data topics such as households and families. Instead of scrolling all the way down, I can go back up and just above households, I can click where it says Close All. So I'm going to close all the topics, the details of the topics, and I can just scroll down and take a look at the topics available. We'll see language, education, disability, occupation and industries. We also have computer and internet use. I'm going to scroll back up and take a look at native and foreign-born. If I click the arrow on the right side, we'll have the detailed information. And we're taking a look at the bar graph that shows the percentage of foreign-born of each world region of birth, 5-year estimates in Florida. We see here that Latin America is 75.5%. If I click on this view table format, we have a nice clean table. Again, I like this because, hey, if you're creating a report, a PowerPoint presentation, you can just copy these graphics. If I scroll down and see language, and we see percent of population 5 years or over who speak a language other than English. Underneath that data, you'll always see the source where this data came from. And this data came from the ACS Selected Social Characteristics table. On the left side, we'll see the table ID, which is DP02. You're going to be hearing a lot about that table in just a moment, but the DP02 is coming. But for now, we have our first practice exercise. And for this practice exercise, you'll have 2 minutes. You can scan the QR code that's listed on that's shown on the right side of the screen. We're going to be looking for ACS estimates. Using the 2021 ACS estimates, what percentage of the population speaks Spanish in California? And your hint is you want to select your geography, which is California, and then look for your topics, or your topic being language. Kelly has given us 2 minutes.
Victoria, just about a minute left.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, and I'm going to go over and let's see if we can locate that answer. I'm going to change the geography. And we have 2021. We'll select the state. And we're looking for California. And select Get Narrative Profile. Again, it's pulling the data in real time. And we can take a look by just scrolling down. And we'll see that 28.3% speak Spanish in the state of California. All right, we're going to go ahead and hand over to data.census.gov. And when we go to data.census.gov, this is what's called a single search bar. Actually, to get to data.census.gov, you'll just go to Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, and you can type in the words data.census.gov. It'll bring you to this landing page. And here's the single search bar. I like to call it the simple search bar. And here's why. You can simply type in what you're looking for. We're looking for foreign born. And we're looking for data in Florida. So we're going to type in a topic and a geography. And hit enter. So on the left side, you'll see in the upper left corner, you'll see filters. It's a good habit to just take a look at your filters to see if you see what you're looking for. We're looking for the topic of foreign born, and we're looking for the geography, Florida. So that's good. In the middle, we'll see just what we were looking for. We're looking for the population of foreign-born population. So we see the foreign-born population in Florida is 21.7%. This data comes from the 2022 American Community Survey one-year estimates. If you scroll down, you'll see a list of tables that's compatible with your search. And on the right, you'll have a geography profile. We're going to go ahead and click the DP02 table. We'll open up that table. And these filters and results are both expandable and collapsible. If you click on the chevron, you can collapse the results and expand the table view. And looking at the top, we see this is the DP02 table ID. This is for the ACS selected social characteristics. We are looking at the 2022 ACS one-year estimates. If I click here, we'll see other options. You don't see a 2022 five-year estimates yet because they haven't been released. The one-year estimates were released this month, and the 5-year estimates will be released in December. I also want to point out, when you're considering the difference between the 1-year estimates and the 5-year estimates, 1-year estimates have a minimum population threshold of 65,000 and more, where your 5-year estimates are available for lower geography levels, such as your group block, your census tracts. For more information on ACS estimates and geography levels, a link will be posted in the chat. So let's see what we have here. At the top, we have our geography, Florida, and we have estimates, we have margin of estimates, percent, and percent of margin of estimates. On the left, we'll see some demographic data, but we're going to look for foreign-born data. Scrolling down, we can start here with residents 1 year ago. This gives you migration data, migration information. And if you look here, you'll see abroad data. If we scroll down, we also have place of birth. Now, the place of birth tells you where you were born. If you were born in the United States, it'll be listed here under native data. But you may also notice that it says born in Puerto Rico, in the US islands, and then also born abroad. If I go up here, I can expand this column. This means that you, if you had a parent or at least one parent that is a US citizen, and they had a child that was abroad or born abroad, that child is also considered a native. Here we have foreign-born data, and you see the percentage in Florida is 21.7%. Of that 21.7%, we also see US citizenship. Naturalized US citizenship shows 58%. So of that 21.7%, there are 58% naturalized citizens in Florida. Then we're also showing year of entry. We show enter 2010 or later and enter before 2010. We have world region of birth data listed here. We have language data and ancestry data, but it's limited ancestry and language data here. I'm going to show you more detailed tables for both of these topics in just a moment. But I wanted to show you the DP02 table because this is a good starting point. All right, so it's time for our second practice exercise. What is the foreign-born population percentage in California, Florida, Hawaii, New Jersey, and New York? And here's your hint. Using the single search bar, you can just type in the table ID DP02. And instead of all 5 states, you can just include, you can type in DP02 and look for the data for just New Jersey. DP02, New Jersey.
Victoria, a little over 1 minute left.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, I'm going to click in the upper left corner, click on the census logo, and we'll type in DP02, and I said New Jersey, right? Okay, so New Jersey, and hit enter. We'll open up the DP02 table and expand the table. Then we'll scroll down. We can remove the margin of error if you like. We'll scroll down and take a look at foreign-born data. Here we go. And we see the answer is 23.5% of the foreign-born population in New Jersey. If we wanted to add additional geographies, we can go up to the top ribbon and click on Geos. And we can type in the geographies here. So if I wanted to add New York, I can click New York. Want to add Florida, I can click the checkbox for Florida. I'll close out the panel. And now we can compare states. Going back down to foreign-born population. And we can compare, we see Florida's foreign-born population is 21.7. New Jersey is 23.5. And New York is 22.7. Okay, now what if you wanted to compare native data to foreign-born data? We'll click on the census logo in the upper left corner. And we're going to use the same topic, foreign-born. And hit enter. This time we're going to look at table ID S0501. We'll expand the table. And the S0501 is selected characteristics of the native and foreign-born populations. We haven't selected a geography. So again, we can go up to the top and click on Geos. And I'll type in New. And select New York and New Jersey. And click the X to close the panel. And earlier, Kelly mentioned occupation data. So we'll scroll down and take a look at occupation data to compare. We'll compare sales and office occupation in the state of, let's remove the margin of error. In the state of New Jersey is 19.9% total population. And native data is 21.8%. Foreign-born is 15%. And if we take a look at New York, the native population of sales and office occupants is 20.2%, and foreign-born is 15.9%. Now, I mentioned earlier that we would take a look at a detailed language table. So let's go back up and click on the census ID, census logo. And here in this simple search bar, which I like to call it simple search, I can type in the word language, but this time instead, underneath the single search bar, we'll click on advanced search. And on the left side, you'll see filters. Let's scroll down to where we see topics and click on populations and people. And then to the right, we'll click the checkbox for language spoken at home. And we'll also select a few states. Let's go back over to the left and select our state. And we can scroll through and just select California, Florida, and New York and New Jersey. When we click those check boxes, we'll see them appear under our filters over on the left. We can go over to the right corner and click on search. And this time we're going to be looking at table ID B16001. We'll click on the link and collapse the results. And this table is language spoken at home by ability to speak English for the population of 5 years or over. This table has 42 detailed language categories. And for each language category, you'll see speak English very well or speak English less than very well. And here you can compare to the geographies we selected, compare the data. However, some data may not be available on lower level geographies. We're currently looking at state levels. If you want to find data for lower level geographies, such as a census tract or even a city, it may not be available. This table was updated in 2016. To get more information about this table, you can go up to the top ribbon and click on Notes. And if you scroll down, you can click on where the link that says 2016 Language Data Users Notes. It'll give you more information about what's available and what has changed on this table. Okay, so next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at that foreign-born workforce table that Kelly mentioned. And I'll click on the tab. And I just want to show you this table really quickly. I thought it was a really good table to compare. You can compare any of the interests listed here when you click on Measure of Interest drop down. But I do want to take a look at total median earnings in 2019. Then we can click on the occupation. And let's take a look at computer programmers. We see the median earnings total is 110,000. Foreign born is 120,000. And native born is 108. So I thought this was a really nice tool to have. Now we're going to go ahead and move over to Ancestry data. Going back to data.census.gov and click on the logo in the upper left corner. When you're looking for Ancestry data, you can use this single search bar and just type in Ancestry and enter. And in the middle, you will see the 4 primary tables for Ancestry. I'll start with this one, the B04007. This is just a really basic table. You can see here. I'm going to go back up and let's take a look at the B04004. This is people reporting single ancestry data. So that is for anyone who's reported just one single ancestry. For example, if I was reporting that I'm Haitian, I have a Haitian ancestry, you will find my data listed here. This B04005, people reporting multiple ancestries. If Kelly reported that she's German and Irish, multiple ancestries, you'll find her data here. And then the B04006, people reporting ancestry, that's a combination of both single and multiple data. So you would see what I reported and what Kelly reported in this table. Let's take a look at it. And let's add a geography. Let's add Florida. Click the checkbox and close out the panel. So for this table, it's very detailed. You can scroll all the way down. Earlier, Kelly mentioned let's see, let's keep scrolling down. Kelly mentioned Nigeria data. You can compare years of growth. So if you want to know if the ancestry, ancestry of Nigeria has grown or decreased, you can come here and go up to the top. We're currently looking at 2022 ACS data. We can compare it to 10 years ago and scroll down to 2012. And we'll scroll back down to Nigerian data. And we'll see the estimate, the difference of the estimate. So you can compare the years just by changing a year at the top. What if you were looking for community data? If you were looking for, let's just say, your ancestors' community data. I'm going to click on the census logo and click on advanced search. So if I was looking for the population of the Jamaican community, someone who is of Jamaican ancestry could have been born in Jamaica or in the US. And if they were born in the US, they could have been born to Jamaican parents, second, third, or fourth generation, which would make up a Jamaican community. So that data is ancestry data. Let's take a look at ancestry groups. We clicked on advanced search and we'll scroll down to topics again. Click on population and people, ancestry, and ancestries. This time we're going to take it. You can scroll down. All the ancestries are listed here, or you can use the search bar and just type in Jamaican. Click the checkbox and we'll select state. And here we'll just select California and scroll down, Florida, New York, and New Jersey. And in the lower right corner, we'll click search. And this time we're going to take a look at the S0201 table. So at the top, we see that this table is a selected population profile in the United States. And we're looking at 2022 ACS estimates. If we click here, we'll see that there's only 1-year estimates available for this table. So that means there's this limited geography, or the geography is only available on higher level geography is selected. So you have just 1-year estimates, 65,000 or more people. In addition to that, you might recall that I selected Florida, New Jersey, New York, and also California, but you don't see California listed here. The reason for that is in the state of California, the population of Jamaican ancestry has to be over 65,000 as well within the state of California. In this table, you will find demographic, social, economic, and housing characteristics as well. I want to point out that although I did use the advanced search, you could have done a really quick, simple search just by typing in the topic, Jamaican, and then also a geography, Florida, and hit enter. Now it's time for our third and final practice exercise. Which state among New Jersey and New York has the highest percentage of Irish ancestry, age 65 and older? Your hint is to use the advanced search. You'll click on your topic and click on Ancestry, then Ancestries, and select Irish. You'll also add your geographies, New Jersey and New York. Then select your table ID.
One minute, Victoria.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, so let's take a look. I'll click on the logo. Let's start from scratch. We'll click on the advanced search. We'll scroll down to topics, select population and people, ancestry, ancestries. I'm just going to type in Irish. Click the checkbox. Now go back up. And I am going to just go over here to the right and click search. Click on the table ID. And at the top, I'm going to add my geographies. And just type in new. Click New York and New Jersey. Close out the panel. And now we want to look for age and sex. We'll scroll down and we see the population 65 years and over. In the state of New Jersey is 20.1% and 20.2% and 20.1% in New York. Okay, so earlier Kelly showed us, and she showed us ancestries totaling 2 million or more. Let's see if you recall the ancestries totaling 10 million or more. If you recall, please place your answers in the Q&A while I look them up. I'm going to click on the advanced search again and scroll down. Under topics, click population and people, ancestry, and ancestries. And we're looking for American, English. I'll just scroll down. German, Irish, and Italian. In the lower right corner, I'll click search. And I'm going to take a look at B05003. This table is sexed by age, by nativity, and citizenship status. And here we see the population for English is just over 26 million, German 42 million, Irish 31 million, Italian is 16 million, over 16 million, and American over 18 million. I hope you were able to remember any of those ancestries and place them in the Q&A. And
Victoria,
for
this is
our
Sana. Victoria? Hi, this
Yes,
is
I
Sana.
can hear.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We have a question in the chat. There is someone who's interested in the Irish age 65 example. I'm not sure if this is a good point to go back. He's asking, what is the 20% answer? The 20% answer represent?
Can we come back to that question at the end? I'm almost finished. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So for our last example, we'll click on the census logo. And for that really wonderful table that Kelly created during her presentation, let's create it now. In the simple search bar or the single search bar, we'll type in DP02 again. And we're going to hit enter. We'll look over here at our filters, and we're going to select our geography. This time we're going to take a look at all counties in California. So select county, California, and all counties within California. Click the checkbox. And we're going to expand the table. And really quickly, if you want a clean table, I'm just going to show you really fast. You can click the hide button here, deselect all the check boxes. And if we want to just look at percent and click the checkbox again, so we'll remove the margin of error and hide that panel. Now we have the percent of every county within the state of Florida. And again, this is the DP02 table, so if you want to compare foreign-born data, you can scroll down to foreign-born. If you want to save or download this table, you can click the Excel in the upper right side of the ribbon. And for now, we're just going to click on More Tools, and click on Map. And here you'll see the variables. It currently selected married couple household. I'm going to click on the drop down. And in the search, just type in foreign born. And now you see the same table that Kelly showed us earlier. The darker shaded areas represent higher, let's zoom back out a little, higher percentages. And if you want to know the highest percentage of foreign-born in counties within California, you can either click on each county, or you can go up to the top and click on classes, scroll down till you see the values, and you can remove the lower percentages just by clicking on the X. And now we see the highest percentage of foreign-born residents in Santa Clara County, California is 41.4%. If you want more information about this particular county, you can click on the view profile. I have listed the most used tables for foreign-born in Ancestry. The hyperlink is to the left of the table title, and this will be included in the PowerPoint presentation that you receive. It'll be posted on Census Academy for your convenience. And earlier, Kelly mentioned data dissemination specialists. We provide workshops and data training, presentations, all free. If you have any data inquiries, if you want to contact us, you can email us at census.askdata@census.gov, or you can call the number listed below. We have a wonderful staff who will be happy to assist you. And we also have the QR code here listed. If you have a data request, you can scan the QR code. And that concludes our presentation. And Anna, you have questions?
Yes, there was a question who was someone who was interested in getting some clarification. So going back to your Irish example, so the Irish age 65 plus example, he wanted to know, what does the 20% answer represent?
What does it? Okay, let's go back. Go back to that table. And we looked at 65 and older. The 20.9% represents population ancestry or Irish ancestry, 65 and older. That's what it represents. So it's 20.9% of Irish ancestry who are 65 and older.
Okay, the follow-up question is, what is the denominator for this 20% calculation? So I think maybe scrolling up to see what the number is on this particular category. So if you scroll up, right now I can only see 75 years and over as your top. So let's see. So the total population is 30.6 million. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that's it. That's in the geography is United States. So I didn't change the geography. Okay. But that's based on the, in the geography. Mm-hmm.
I know some people were entering their questions in the chat. I don't know if Misty, do we have any pending questions in the chat?
Not that I see.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Kim.
All righty. So thank you very much, Kelly and Victoria, for this excellent presentation. Before we conclude, I'd like to thank everyone who played a role in today's webinar, and also, of course, thank you, our audience, for spending your time with us this afternoon. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation by following the link provided in the chat. Look out for the recording and the PowerPoint from this workshop on the Census Academy by visiting census.gov/academy.
And Kim, it's also important to note that this does conclude our It's All in the Tools webinar series. Please consider joining us in 2024 for our Exploring the Diversity of Census Bureau Data webinar series, which will begin in January. Visit the census.gov/academy for additional details. This brings us to a close, and we thank you and hope you have a great afternoon. You may disconnect at this time.